When you think about it, life on Earth is this incredible, delicate balancing act. It's not just one thing, but this fascinating interplay of four fundamental systems. So today, we're going to break down these amazing life support systems one layer at a time and really see how they all work together to make our planet a living world. We're basically going on a journey, starting from the ground up. We'll kick things off with a solid Earth right under our feet, then dive into the vast oceans, rise up into the very air we breathe, and finally, see how it all comes together to create the one place where life can actually thrive. So, what are these essential components? What's the secret sauce? Well, the answer really lies in four major overlapping domains that work together in this almost perfect life-sustaining harmony. Let's dive in and check them out. Our planet's environment is made up of four distinct but deeply interconnected spheres. Think of them like the essential ingredients in a recipe for life. Each one has its own unique job to do, but none of them can support life all on their own. It's the constant interaction between them that makes our world so vibrant and alive. All right, let's start with the very foundation of our world, the solid ground beneath us. This is what we call the lithosphere. The name itself gives you a pretty big clue. It comes from the Greek word lithos, which literally means stone. And that's exactly what it is, the solid, rocky crust that makes up our planet's outer shell. But it's not just hard rock. It also includes that super thin but absolutely vital layer of soil that's packed with nutrients essential for life to even get started. But here's something you might not think about. The lithosphere isn't just the land we see around us. Nope, it's actually split into two major parts. You've got the huge continents, and then you have the massive ocean basins. That's right, the solid ground of our planet extends right under all that water. And the scale here is just mind-blowing. The highest point, Mount Everest, soars 8,848 meters above sea level. But then you have the deepest point, the Mariana Trench, which plunges an insane 11,022 meters below sea level. That's an absolutely massive range for our planet's solid crust. Okay, so we've got the solid ground down. Now let's move to the water that fills up all those basins. Welcome to the Hydrosphere. Taking its name from the Greek hydro for water, the Hydrosphere covers all the water on our planet. And I mean all of it, not just the liquid stuff in oceans and rivers, but also the huge ice sheets, the glaciers, the water vapor floating in the air, and even the groundwater that's hidden deep underground. And there's a staggering amount of it. A whopping 71% of our planet's surface is covered by water. That's exactly why we call Earth the blue planet. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. Even with all that water, over 97% of it is salty ocean water. You can't drink it, you can't farm with it. That leaves a tiny, tiny fraction, less than 3%, as freshwater. So even though we live on a water world, this really shows you that our usable freshwater is an incredibly scarce and precious resource. All right, from the land and the water, let's look up. We're moving into that invisible but absolutely critical blanket of air that surrounds us, the atmosphere. The word atmosphere comes from the Greek atmos, which means vapor. It's this incredibly thin envelope of gas that not only gives us the air we breathe, but also acts like a protective shield, protecting us from the harshness of space and helping regulate our planet's temperature. So what are we actually breathing in? Well, you might be surprised to learn it's mostly nitrogen at 78%, which is super important for living things to grow. The oxygen we need to survive makes up about 21%, and that tiny little 1% left over, that's a mix of other gases, including carbon dioxide, which plays a really big role in keeping our planet warm. Now, this blanket of air isn't just one big blob. It's actually structured into 5 distinct layers, each with its own thing going on. We're all hanging out down here in the troposphere, where all our weather happens, and it goes all the way out to the exosphere, which is pretty much the final frontier before you hit empty space. As you go higher up through these layers, the air changes a lot. It gets thinner and thinner, which is exactly why you see mountaineers climbing peaks like Everest carrying oxygen tanks. Up at those crazy altitudes, there's just not enough oxygen in the air to breathe. Okay, so we've explored the land, the water, and the air. Now for the grand finale. Let's see how these 3 things combine to create the most complex and dynamic domain of all, the biosphere. The name says it all. Bios is Greek for life. Now, the key thing to get here is that the biosphere isn't some separate place. It's the narrow zone where land, water, and air all overlap and interact. It's in this amazing intersection that life as we know it can actually exist. It's where the magic happens. So think of it like that recipe we mentioned earlier. You start with the solid foundation of the lithosphere, you add the water of the hydrosphere, and then you mix in the air of the atmosphere. And where those three ingredients meet, you get the biosphere, the only place in the entire known universe that can support life. From the deepest roots of trees to the highest flying birds, from the smallest microbes to the largest whales, it's all part of this incredible, interconnected web of life. So the main takeaway here is this. The lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere aren't separate things at all. They are a single integrated system, a kind of delicate dance of interconnected elements. And that leads to a really critical question for our time, right? How are our actions affecting that delicate balance? And what could that mean for the future of life on Earth?